to go. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how your brain is going to be when you leave here tonight? Can you imagine that? I mean, that's something. That is absolutely something. One of the things, though, when Gary mentioned the church, many of you know I grew up in the church, and I know all the ins and outs of the church. One thing I do know is that we're better to our preachers than we are to our elders, like Dr. Clarke, Amos, and Chief Imhotep, Gary Bird, our elders. I'm the youngest person on the stage right now. I just want y'all to know that. Certainly, growing up in the church was amazing how anniversary come around, the conventions and all those things, how we had to take wheelbarrows of money out of the church. We never taken wheelbarrows of money out of the church at the Slave Theater yet. But we're going to do that tonight. We're going to take wheelbarrows out of church, primarily for a lot of reasons. One is, I beg lightly quite often here, but there are some times when I beg real hard. Now tonight, I'm going to beg hard, but I'm not going to beg long, because I want these brothers to get up here, and you know what we usually beg for. Big slave masters before themselves. That's a warrior, someone who does that. And as a result of that, they've all been attacked. Am I right? All been attacked. Under attack right now because they are warriors. Because they are warring for us. And it's a poor people that does not finance its warriors. It's a poor people that do not finance. That you have bad value. If you're going to give to anybody, I'm going to give it to my warriors first. I'm going to give it for somebody who stands up and fight for me first. They get the first dollar before anybody else. Am I right? That's your line of protection. So we have to begin to understand that there are some people who are willing to give up everything for their people. And they don't know what's coming around the corner. But warriors don't care. They don't care. And if Dr. Clarke had not been a warrior, he could have been somewhere safely at a think tank, giving white folks information about y'all, like Thomas Sowell is doing out at Stanford. All right? He could have easily done, Amos could have done the same thing. All right? Gary could have been a Leon Lewis. All right? All right? To give y'all something really to complain for. All right? Now, let's not assume that, the Gary going to be there for all times. You understand? Let's not assume that. All right? And Leon Lewis should definitely be scaring the daylights out of all of y'all. All right? I make no secret of the fact that I generally now do not turn the LIB until 10 o'clock. Myself. All right, it's too, and I say this, somebody might report me to LIB tomorrow, but I don't care. All right? I don't care, just like if LIB makes a move on Gary, they're going to hear from me first and foremost. And the reason why they're going to hear from me first and foremost is because I paid my dues at LIB. All right? That's why. That's why they're going to hear from me. Because I made white media come to LIB to cover the major cases of the 80s. All right? And where they wanted to know it. We didn't go anywhere else. Every press conference. I remember Howard Beach. Everybody wanted to know what Maddox was going to say. I didn't call a press conference anywhere but in front of Gary Bird. That was 1986. And all white folks had to check in the GBE to get the news. So I paid my dues. So, if LIB want to fight, they'll get it from me. I pay hard I don't have to go in there bowing. All right, and I don't like what I see or hear, because I love the station. You understand? I love the station, so I made my commitments. You know, I didn't run the white media. White media had to run to us. We had other options. Negroes want to be in front of white folks downtown. I made white folks come to black media. They wanted to read about the Warner Brothers, they had to read in the city song, "You Trees Lead." They wanted to hear about it, they had to hear about it on LIB. That wasn't by accident, that was by design. I knew what I was doing. So I have a right, if anybody has a right. And their ratings went up. All right? Their ratings went up. I got proof of that. I got all the logs. I collect evidence. So I don't have to go in the city sign as well. Circulation went up. That's right. Circulation went up. So I don't have to, I paid my dues in this town. You know, and so I can go anywhere and say what I want to say. All right, and do as I please in this town. All right? Ain't nobody paid any bigger dues in this town than the man that you're looking at right now. And so, that's why it's important for us to, at times, come together and demonstrate support for those people who have stood for us, because I'm going to tell you, it's a lonely fight. And it's a hard fight. And a lot of times you go home and cry at night, because people really don't understand what you're really doing in order to make it better for our people. Really don't understand. You're willing to put everything on the line. That's what Gary's doing right now. That's why LIB is under attack, because what comes on at 10 o'clock in the morning. All right? That's right. That's what they do not like. Gary got the beat. He got the rhythm. New York marches to GBE. All right? That's what's going on. We're going to have a revival here. I'm going to say one other thing. I was watching MC Hammer on HBO on Sunday before Gary's football game came on. All right? And Hilly and other people know this because they're authorities in music. But James was there with Hammer. And so they asked Hammer, why was it that James was so popular everybody had to beat? Because Hammer said, well, you know, James is on the first and the third instead of second and the fourth beat. That's what he said on HBO. All right, but that's what he said. All right, that's what he said. I got the tape to prove it, Hilly. I knew I was gonna get some objections from you when I said it, because I'm in music too. All right, I'm an all-star musician myself. Had scholarships to Florida A&M and Tennessee State and others for my musical ability. Unfortunately, in my school they used to call me Beethoven. Unfortunately, that's before we got Afrocentric. All right, but that's how bad they thought I was. Okay, but in any event, what we want to do real quickly, we're gonna do this real fast. This past Saturday, UAM held its annual membership festival, and at that time it is customary for us to give out awards to persons who have been outstanding in their service to the organization. Actually, it's an induction into UAM's Hall of Fame, because every year there are always new inductees. This past Saturday, we were pleased to honor Brother Bundy Najid, Sister Sarah Russell, and Brother Abdul Rahman Abdullah at the Cotton Club in Harlem for great work that they have done. Two of those persons have given so much to us in terms of the newsletters that we put together, the banquet, the convention, and all of those things. Brother Bundy, expert in computers, Sister Russell does a great job of editing. And then there are two other brothers, Brother Abdul and another brother who was not there, but real quickly we want to give him his award now. Let us give a big welcome to our fourth inductee, Alan D. Starks. And just very quickly, the United African Movement presents the Toussaint Louverture Award to Alan D. Starks for his inspiring spirit, exemplary compassion, and military genius for and on behalf of African people on the African continent and throughout the diaspora. Alton H. Maddox, Jr., Chairman, January 16, 1993. Let's give. It was a wonderful time. There are a lot of people here from really out of town. Those who do not live right in New York City, will you please stand? We just want to acknowledge all of you. Philadelphia as well. I reckon they think they belong here now. But we have a large contingent here from Philadelphia tonight. Today, some people called from Albany, New York. And asked for direction. They said they're here tonight. And so we're certainly pleased to have you here at the Slave Theater. People have come as far as Delaware, Maryland. I think during Kwanzaa we had people from Ohio and other places coming here. It's a great thing for black people to be able to come together. And it's a very warm feeling and spirit. So a lot of times we do not know how blessed we are until somebody like a Leon Lewis comes around. All right, we really don't. We take a lot of that for granted. But we should not. We have to place great value on it. We can't lose it. We got to move ahead. And as I said before, what I want to do here at the Slave Theater is have this place so packed that it would be necessary for other groups to be able to do something every night of the week. And even on Wednesdays. Because if we got 2 million African people in this town, the enemy is not one organization against the next. The enemy is the television set. Because 1,999,000 Africans are somewhere else watching television. So you shouldn't be getting mad at each organization. Our common enemy is the TV. So if we want to blow up anything, we ought to be blowing up a TV station. You know, rather than talking about one group against the other. Am I right? 2 million Africans, the problem ain't my group or this group, it's the problem with white folks. We always get confused. Negroes competing against each other when 1,999,000 Africans are at home watching television. So why are we competing against each other? That's foolish. Man, I don't like that group. He took some people away from me. Should have been over here tonight. No, we should be going in these homes and dragging them out. That's what the problem is. Problem is not these. We got to get properly defined to know who the enemy is. No black man or woman is my enemy. I don't call 911. If I got a problem, I'm going to deal it with you myself. The only people that call 911 is us. Only ones. Because we do not have any self-government to take care of our own problems. Crackers shouldn't be in the neighborhood. And they certainly shouldn't be getting no 911 calls. Come on, we want to make the police department better. Police shouldn't even be in the community. Talking about a civilian review board, there shouldn't be no police department in our community. It ain't one in the Hasidim community. They don't police nobody in the community but ours. Forget about a civilian complaint review board. Let's get rid of these crackers totally. And let's police ourselves. If you got to call crackers, you need to be beaten up. Now you do. People talk about I'm a nation. Well, form a nation. You can form a nation here. We can set up the institution before we go to these 5 states. Nobody got to get on 5 states first before you form a nation. We can be a nation now. Somebody get out of line, we can call court right now. We can send our own police department in. Not ask crackers for none of this. I'm not asking crackers for nothing. That's why you don't see me out here with all this crap no more. I'm not begging these crackers no more. Let's form our own government. Form our own police department. Form our own military. Form our own Secretary of State. Have our own ambassadors. Who can stop us from doing that? I don't have to go to no United Nations, ask no cracker for that. Am I right? Have our own government. People talk about the Jews. But no, Jews do not go and fight for America. There ain't no Jews in the military. All right? Because they have their own government. Right here. They got a government in Crown Heights and Williamsburg. So let's form our government. Police come in their neighborhood, they whip them for trespassing. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life begging crackers for nothing. I'm declaring myself free right now. And I'm going to act accordingly. Making no demands on these crackers. Who are they? In caves where we were selling the world. And you'll be asking them for something. This is madness. When y'all get ready to farm something, give me a call. I ain't marching nothing, nowhere no more. When y'all get sick and want to farm something, give me a call. When y'all get tired of marching and begging and pleading, then give me a call. I'm not going out there begging no crackers for nothing, including my license or their license. These crackers want to give it back, that's their problem. That's what happened there 3 years. Well, why did he ask for it? Why would he demand it? It's your license, crackers. If these crackers took something that belonged to me, I'll be down there whipping butt. They ain't took nothing that belonged to me. Didn't belong to me. And I wasn't going to do what they wanted me to do with it. Crackers don't give you no license to protect the community. They give you a license to do in the community. I'm in better health right now. And I will run around these courts fighting for everybody. It's madness. I'm not begging, pleading, or nothing. When y'all get ready to form a government, give me a call. I'll write the Constitution. Just one final point, I'm through. This is for tomorrow night, and this is important. I'm going to be there, and I want everybody here to be at Midtown Manhattan tomorrow evening. All right? Gary Bird, his installments. I want everybody. Who's coming? I'm going to give it in 1 minute. But for Gary, you should be there anytime. It don't make no difference. Yeah, Gary, what time is it? All right, 6:30. I was filibustering. I didn't see the time on here. And it's not on here. Otherwise, I would have given it to you. All right, but let's listen to this. And this is very important. We all got to be at that tomorrow night. Everybody. Everybody. Because crackers are going to be counting tomorrow night. Y'all understand that? They're going to be counting tomorrow night. They're going to be somewhere with a ticker tape. Counting. Seeing how many of us show up. If we don't show up tomorrow night, I can guarantee you in 2 weeks, Gary's going to be off the air. All right? That's how serious this is. This man is against nature and the truth. You got free speech as long as you're telling lies. Then you got free speech. You start telling the truth, you no longer have free speech. People say, well, why did they bust Jeffries and then bust Levin? Because Levin was lying and Jeffries was telling the truth. It had nothing to do with the color of their skin. It had something to do with the content of their character. Levin is a liar. Free speech protects lies. That's why Carter G. Wilson wrote The Miseducation of the Negro. That's all you get in this school is lies. But tomorrow night, Imhotep Gary Bird installment celebration. Brother Imhotep Gary Bird was recently twice installed as an African chief in Ghana. A celebration to officially welcome him back from his historic installments will be held on Thursday, January 21st, 1993. The event will take place at Club Harambe, located at 127 West 43rd Street between 6th Avenue and Broadway. Brother Imhotep Gary Bird will talk to us about the importance of this Ghana cultural experience. Exciting video highlights of the historic African trip will be shown and delicious cuisine will be available. John Imhotep Gary Bird, come and share this important celebration. Make your reservation by calling 718-472-4677. I'm going to say that twice again. By that time, everybody should know it by memory. 718-472-4677. 718-472-4677. That is Owens Communications in Queens. Owens Communications in Queens will be giving you directions and information tomorrow. Call Owens Communications in Queens at that number. You can get out a phone directory if you don't have a pencil. But everybody knows when you come to the Slave Theater, there's two things you got to have in order to get in here. A pencil and a pad. In the future. All right, a pencil and a pad. So tomorrow night, this is serious. I'm telling you, this is serious. It makes a difference. Black people have begun to call the governor about the license and about Sharpton's case. And the governor is making phone calls now. All right? They are getting letters and they're making phone calls because he knows he has to run in 94. All right? I deal with it. All right? But that's important. So it's important tomorrow night. Can you imagine everybody in the slave theater be down there tomorrow night? What signal that'll send to everybody? All right? All of us who do not like Leon Lewis should be there tomorrow night to make a point. All right? That's why I'm going. You report it. You report it at LIB tomorrow morning. I'm going to be there tomorrow night to protest. I do not like what I hear from 7 to 10 in the morning. And I don't care who likes it, who doesn't like it. Because I say what I mean and mean what I say. To anybody. All right, so tomorrow night, that's important. If we don't do nothing else tomorrow night, please, please, please be at 127 West 43rd Street in Manhattan. And so now, you will not hear from me again. We get ready to get into some serious business now. Serious business. Let us again welcome the return of Chief Imhotep Gary Bird.
Brothers and sisters, without any further ado, may we rise and welcome our elder, Dr. John Henrik Clarke.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I have said on more than one occasion that for 500 years the world has been ruled by white nationalism. It was set in motion by a concept of a new world order. Anytime a European announces a new world order, you'd better run like hell or get your gun and shoot like hell. Anytime a German uses the word Reich, better give him some land, a secure burial ground for yourself. There are certain characteristics that came out of Europe that never manifested itself the same way in other people. I'm going to be talking about the present and looking back at the past at the same time, because the present is always the past and the past is always the present. History is always with us, and all history is a current event. Everything that ever happened continues to happen. Now, what set in motion that concept that led to global white supremacy? And how was it that the massive people in Asia, in Africa, in the South Sea Islands, let them pull away, let them pull over on them the greatest trick in human history, an inadequate group of human beings, juvenile delinquents with guns that should have been taken away from them in the first place and could have been taken away from them in the first place. They came out of Europe after they turned on themselves and created a dark age for themselves. Now, having exhausted their resources in the silliness of the crusade, in famines and plagues, they were hungry, cold, and evil. They had no sentimental attachment to any people, not even themselves. They were looking around for something to eat. And they developed maritime skill mostly through China. They used that skill to turn on the people who had preserved that skill, the Africans and the Arabs at the University of Salamanca in Spain. The sunrise of white supremacy globally is the 15th and the 16th century. Prior to that period, there was no white people, no black people, no brown people. You did not identify people based on color. There was no concept in the world that one people should prevail over another people because of someone's true faith. To say that I've got the true faith, that means all other faiths are false. And that's a hypocritical lie told in the name of God. But now, with the pressure of the European coming back into the Mediterranean, challenging the Africans and the Arabs who had been controlling it since 7/11, the area having been conquered for them by an African, Tariq bin Azad. Now, Spain got enough independence, though she was still under colonial rule, to begin to have colonial aspirations. When Spain and Portugal went to the Pope was the arbitrator of all disputes in the world of that day. And the Pope said to Spain and Portugal, you are both authorized to reduce to servitude all infidel people. White supremacy had been endorsed by the church. It would now set in motion the longest and the greatest act of genocide and the most tragic Holocaust in human history. They would drain the whole world of resources to recover from their own internal disputes. I am emphasizing this now because once more they have drained their resources to the point where they will go outside of Europe, create a rationale for the conquest of other people, the exploitation of the resources of other people to recover from the ways that they are responsible for. If you are naive enough to think that someone goes into Somalia for humanitarian reasons to feed some Africans, you are sick. There are whites starving all over this country. Hillbillies in the Kentucky mountains, blue. All over this country, prostitution is an industry. If the white woman was so sacred, why are the pimps running this industry? And why has it always prevailed where they prevail? So if you're so humanity, If he got so much humanity, he got to spare some for the Africans. Why didn't he spare some for his own mother, his own sister? So who are you lying to? Now, because this caveman came out of Europe in fear, he had to destroy competition. And when they come on you, even today, they don't come by ones, they don't come by twos. You never hear of a one man lynching one man. They are terribly insecure that those years in that ice took some humanity away from them, if indeed they started with any. Now, when they came out into this broader world, they had enslaved Europeans under the guise of feudalism, but that was slavery. And in the Children's Crusade, they had enslaved not only their children, but sold some of their own children to the infidel Arabs they were supposed to be fighting. And if we understood his mind at this juncture in history, instead of inviting him for dinner, treating him like a gas, you'd have killed him on sight. He had nothing but evil on his mind, and we fell into his trap because we believed he was a part of humanity. And we believe that if I'm a part of humanity, then all men are an extension of me and part of my humanity. The African tried to bring man in harmony with nature. The European defies nature. The African might go walk on the moon one day, but they're going to have a prayer meeting first. And if the gods say, not favorable, you're going to stay behind on the ground. A spiritual human being works out a logical reason based on spirituality for the things he does. The European is guided by need and greed, and there are no thou shalt nots in his religion. He turns all things into a negative force. He would take some admissions of purity and honesty. He would extract 10 of the 42. He would call this the negative confession. It wasn't negative and wasn't confessions. He would change the language around and said, thou shalt not. The African didn't say nothing about thou shalt not. He said, I have not. We were pleading, we were standing before our teachers, standing before our people, and said, I have not violated my neighbor's wife. I have not done thus and so. Now he takes and twists the language around and says, thou shalt not. It's a command. Now it's a command. Otherwise, it was a voluntary admission. That's distrust of other, in the mutilations of other people's spirituality. Because his own culture is so weak and not defendable, he have to mutilate the cultures of other people so his culture will have no competition. He has to colonize God. He has to colonize the image of God. He has to say, God looks like me. And he got you worshiping a picture painted by Michelangelo. He had to colonize history. If you think that there's something only current about this fight over who were the Egyptians, this fight over curricula, it's a life and death struggle. Because when we define who the Egyptians were, he's going to have to go back to his computer and rewrite his whole history. This child who wasn't born when Egypt flourished. You can't say, now, where did it come from? It couldn't have come from Europe because there was no Europe. It couldn't come from Western Asia because politically they wasn't functional. Then you have to ask yourself a question. Why would anybody build in someone else's country a civilization over and above anything they built in their own country? This is why they cannot. Look at the Nile River stretching 4,000 miles into the body of Africa. Now, just for the sake of conversation, let's just say that the Egyptians were white. Okay. That great labor supply came from the south. A lot of their technicians came from the south. Experimental pyramid building came from the south. 4,000 years of that and the biological necessity being what it is, could they still be white after 4,000 years? But they wasn't white in the first place. So we don't even need the hypotheses. But this whole thing over who were the Egyptians and who built the civilization of the Nile Valley, it plagues them because if they didn't do it, then they've told a lie straight across the board about our mind. And once we recapture our mind and realize that over half of human history was over before we knew a European was in the world, and we had functioning societies, then you're going to start nation building again. You're going to start with yourself. You're going to start with your community. You're going to start with the restoration of confidence and the restoration of image. When a people restore their confidence, they must restore that image of God as they originally conceived him or her to be. We had no problem with the her. That's somebody else's hang up. Now, when he adopted a belief system, all adopted from other people, he turned all organized religions into male chauvinist murder cults. We have not examined to what extent religions have been the handmaidens of conquerors, created by foreigners, fakers, and fools. Now, I'm not against anyone's spirituality or anyone's belief system. I am highly spiritual myself. I am against all of the charlatanism, all of the money changing that takes so much of your time and gives you back nothing of consequence. I'm against all of this misguided energy. It is a pacifier. And you need to grow up to the point where you will not need this pacifier. He needed a justification for slavery. So his justification is these people have no soul. Now, if he believed in the religion he said he believed in it, he would not enslave you because you have no soul. He would have kindness and pity and some humility because you have no souls. If God is love and God is grace and God is kind, then to follow him is not to enslave, but to enhance those lesser than you, weaker than you. But he used his strength to confuse people and to weaken other people. And we bought it. They laughed at our gods. And each time we mount a revolution, it is dismantled from within and from without by images. And because we are forced in some way not to believe in ourselves, there is a wholeness that every person on this earth needs. And that is a concept of a place in the world geography that you can point to as a place of origin and feel proud about it whether you ever go there. That was my beginning. That was my home in the world. That was my mothership. Frederick Douglass, in his old age, once said, the Republican Party is the ship for the Negro. All else is the open sea. It's a ridiculous statement, but the symbols are good. I say Africa is our mothership. All else is a strange land. When you're out of it, you're away from home. The crisis in the global white supremacy today, the crisis that started soon after World War I, World War II, is that in the 15th and the 16th century, the European colonized most of the world. Europe was his home. Some enclaves outside of Europe, like the United States, there was a mulatto colony called South America. The rest of the world was his servants' quarters. And what the world is facing right now is a revolt in the servants' quarters. The servant will not be restful in those quarters, wasn't too restful in the first place. The servant is looking for the state for the mind, the state for the soul, the state to house his culture, the state where he can be full man, a place in the world where he will not have to grapple and ask permission to live, where the manhood can flourish and the womanhood can flourish. He can look at his child and take care of his child and be proud of the seed of a crop still to come. And once they take that away from you and you become dependent on him, you have lost the mothership. in this country, a nation within a nation searching for a nationality. This is why, under the impact of white supremacy, we want to be someplace we are loved. We want to be someplace we are wanted. And sometimes we get defensive. I'm in America, I'm in America, I'm an American. Please accept me. I'm in America. Because you are conscious of the fact that you wasn't brought here to be given citizenship. You wasn't brought here to be in America. You brought here to be labor. You became surplus. You're a floating nation, not wanted any place, not wanted in America, and no Africans ever invited you home. The strangest and the saddest, the most complicated nation in all the world, floating in a sea of white supremacy. A child can't find his way back home. I'm saying there's only one solution for us, only one solution for the Caribbeans, and only one solution for Africa. Pan-African nationalism. I call it the essential selfishness of survival. It is the role of the teacher, it is the role of the preacher, it is the role of the thinker to ask and answer the question, how will my people live on this earth? First and foremost on my agenda, how will they be fed? How will they be educated? How will they be housed? In answering the question, in setting in motion the organizational structure that will bring that about and answer the question, I am rebuilding the concept of nation responsibility. And this is what we have to get back to. We have to think nation inside of our head and try to make it into a reality. And form a connection all over the world. And realize that the culture container for us is the restoration of the state. You do not have a single African state in Africa because they were all set up by global white supremacy. These states are too restrictive. The borders are artificial. The Africa did not live in little tight nation states. He lived in territorial states. 16 clusters of states living together, different religions, different belief systems. We have to get back to something that we designed with our own mind. We have to throw out that constitution and write new ones that fits our culture. He is afraid of women in power. We must stop. Because we created a society where women's place was different, her role was different, but it was equal in importance. There were certain things that couldn't function without her. You couldn't think of a god without a goddess. You couldn't think of a king without a queen. It was a contradiction in kind. So you couldn't function otherwise. Rapidly, you're living in a society where they want to organize man doing without women and women doing without men. Now, what's going to happen to the family? And when you hear all of these rationales now intruding into our very school system, when you hear all of the excuses about the alternative ways of practicing sex, I would ask the full-grown man, have you ever seen a fully undressed woman? And can you conceive of anything better than that? We become prisoners to other people's needs, other people's ideology. People impose own religions, things that came out of their culture. Then we are a little hesitant about discussing Christianity, and I've met very few Christian ministers who know the religion anyway, and I haven't met a Muslim who knows much about anything other than to praise Allah. Religions can be powerful instruments for liberation. All religions are revolutionary in their potential. They don't have to retard the progress of people. I don't know a single black Muslim who would look, a black scholar who would look on the black side of Islam and see how it differs radically from the Arab side. I don't know a single one who will examine the invasion of West Africa in 1591 and the breaking up of those great independent states in West Africa that had lasted for 1,000 years. I don't know a single one who will acknowledge the fact, because the research is in from their scholars and from European scholars and from ours. The Arabs were in the slave trade before Islam. And there are certain elements of Islam that they dare not admit. The first official act of the Prophet Muhammad, the prophet still to come, was when in Arabia, if you had two girls and the third child was a girl, you were obliged to kill him. The prophet's first official act was to defend the woman's right to keep her child. Then why in the hell have you formed a male chauvinist cultist religion in the name of a man whose first official act was in defense of women? He had asked Bilal, the African. He wanted Bilal to be his successor, the first caliph. Bilal refused. Then seeing these warring Arabs fighting among themselves, he went on back to Ethiopia. The other Ethiopian who assisted the prophet, Zayd bin Hadid, died in the wars against the Byzantines. Now what am I talking about? I'm talking, you don't understand white supremacy, you don't understand pseudo-white people and their supremacy and how they use this religion to enslave you. You don't understand why all you want to praise, all the praise is now being given. We've got people among us who think if you're not Islamic, you're somewhat less than the dog. I'm saying we can have dynamics in all religions without fighting among ourselves over something. And we don't have to tell this lie about this is the black man's true religion. All the elements that went into the religions of the world came out of Nile Valley civilization. Therefore, all religions are the black man's true religion. Africans are being killed in the Sudan right now solely because they're not Muslim. Part of the fight in Somalia between African-oriented Muslims and Arab-oriented Muslims. No one's lifting a voice to say a single thing about it. We have to seriously study the invaders of Africa. Pseudo-white people and white people. Yeah, read the destruction of black civilization. Read some of the books that came before. Harry Johnson's book, The Colonization of Africa by Alien Races. And read Reginald Copeland's book, East Africa and Its Invaders. Read the Cambridge history of East Africa. You can weed out the racism among this, but you got a whole lot of very good information. Now, how do I drive this home in as much as we are in more danger now than we were on the eve of the slave trade? How do I get it across people that we cannot afford the luxury of being separated based on denominations and religion? Else the enemy come and pick all of us off. How can I explain that I'm not asking you to leave any church or leave any religion? I'm asking you to convert all of them into an instrument of liberation or leave them alone. I have no proof of this, but I deeply believe it, and I have no time to kid anyone. I think AIDS was discovered and developed specifically to depopulate Africa. I think the Europeans want to take over Africa. I think a whole lot of people had something to do with it, including people complaining about their Holocaust being the only Holocaust in history. There have been many Holocausts in history. That little difficulty in Europe was small in comparison. In comparison to the Congo situation, it was very small. In comparison to the total destruction of the black population of not just Amelia, but Tasmania. Every man, woman, and child was destroyed. There's very little known literature on the destruction of the blacks of the Pacific. There's a book called Anatomy of Paradise, not easy to get. Plenty of books on the rape of Africa. We need to read something about how the independent states of inner West Africa were destroyed by Muslims from the north, pseudo-whites. And the African ran to them, said, "We are your brothers, we're your kin." It didn't make a slight bit of difference. They'd turned that religion into the handmaiden of murderers. Many didn't believe it anyway. I think it can be, like all religions, can be a spiritual haven for mankind. I think all the religions of the world can come together. And in that together, in being together, they can send a message to the world. They have sway over, they can do it if they would dare to do it. But if you think one is better than the other, you are never going to do it. Being different one from the other doesn't make you better one from the other. I look at Ghana, a nation which is my home in Africa, where I went in 1958. It was the point nation in Africa. It was the example of the re-emergence of Africa. And I look at it today, a nation of Jesus freaks. Crippled. Look at Nigeria, nation of thieves. Zaire could have been a great industrial nation in the heart of Africa. global white supremacy. Whites want to take over all the industry of the world, all the diamonds in the world. What must we think about if we're going to reclaim the state that I refer to as the mothership? We have to stop talking about nation time and take an inventory about everything that goes into the making of a nation. If you need an inventory, if you need an oceanographer, we should have 20 in training and 20 working. Always have someone in training to replace someone on the scene. Never be short of people that are needed to run a nation. Let's make deities, let's make something of nobility out of a man who could not only fix an elevator, but who can make one. So here's Joe Jones, he can make an elevator. Let's have a little parade for Joe and give him a dinner. Another one, he's a good supervisor, kept all our streets clean and kept down diseases. And our children are healthy. We are healthy. Let's start patting common people on the back for doing ordinary great things. Whole lot of miseducated people won't take their nose out of the air long enough to fight for freedom or come out of their enslavement. Since the independence of Ghana, there have been 2 generations. They didn't deliver. Since the Supreme Court decision 1954, we've had 2 generations. They didn't deliver. And no one's going to deliver. In the Caribbean islands, your opportunity for federation, you're the majority. Haven't got a single state. Jamaica could have become a great island state. Hung up with color, caste, where am I there? Scottish uncle, British grandfather. Producer Marcus Garvey, about as un-African as any place can be. Barbados, little Barbados having tea at 4. Dealing. I'm saying we have to throw away all of this excess baggage we have picked up from our oppressor and be an African people again. We better draw our children close to us again. We must hug each other unashamedly again. We must ask questions again. Why psychiatrists don't know what to do with our head when it gets mixed up? We're going to have to do it ourselves. We have to give our children assignments in life. These are the things we must do in order to survive as a people on this earth. You pick one of those and do it well. If you're nothing but a roofer, be a good one. Whatever you do, make a priesthood out of whatever you do. Since wandering from that sharecropper farm in Alabama to a place called Columbus, Georgia, and since discovering an essay by a Puerto Rican of African descent, Arthur Schomburg, called The Negro Digs Up His Past, since making a decision that I would teach history, since being a grammar school dropout who read 3 libraries of books and trained a generation of PhDs, my priesthood has been to leave a liberation message that can resound after the ancestors has called me home. Yeah. 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 When we think about building the house of Africa, each one of us with good conscience should say what we have done to build that house and to maintain that house. I remember briefly my relationship to Malcolm, and I thought about this during the film and before the film and after I saw the film and didn't see the Malcolm that I knew personally in that film. I thought about the dialogue that I had that first year after his death, almost like he was creeping in the room. The same thing when I had a stroke in '82. And my great-grandmother, who was a deity in my life and still is, kept sitting by the bed, and each time I reached out for her, my hands could go through it, but never touch. And after a while, she just walked away. I remember something almost humorously there in the darkness, grappling to get my body back together. Never saw Grandma when she didn't have a black dress. Grandma, a black dress and that cane. Now, in looking back at people who planted so much in my mind, I believe deeply in meditation. I don't believe in prayer because it's a waste of time. So sometime in my meditation, I look back at the great messengers of our lives. We missed the point in looking at Booker T. Washington. We took away the wrong thing, and we missed the real point. We missed the point looking at Du Bois. Du Bois was a towering intellect and gave us a lot. He was an impossible snob also. But still the major intellect we produced in the Western world. Then when I look at my readings of the monumental works around Garvey, and who came at a certain time in the history, that's another messenger. We need to go back. All these messengers were trying to show us a way to avoid the worst aspect of global white supremacy.
That's right.
Booker T. Washington said, if you live in a brick house, own a brick yard. Wear leather shoes, tan leather, make your own shoes. Du Bois said a political consolidation, bring it all together politically and make it work. One wasn't contradicting the other. Then Marcus Garvey dreamed a bigger dream that encompassed all the going on before. Back to Africa, go back in the mind. Then Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X, concept of a nation away from home. We need to look at it politically, look at it sanely. Every religion has its mythology. You can forget about the mad scientist named Yakut and all of that. But look at Elijah Muhammad's achievement. He didn't steal anyone from the big church or the little church. They wasn't there. He took the people who were floating around searching for a leadership, searching for anchorage, searching for their social moorings, had lost confidence in themselves. He made them live again, made them whole again, make them feel like they were part of something. Now, to conclude, that last year, thinking of my own relationship to Malcolm that I didn't say very much about public, mainly because so many phonies were showing up talking about they were friends of Malcolm. I decided to keep quiet. In that beautiful conversation between us, there wasn't a conversation, in a silent room. Well, what am I to do? What can I do? Then the words without words coming back to me, do your best work. I decided I would rededicate myself to a total fight against the concept that any person on this earth have done anything so good that they have a right to rob and steal and mutilate and rape another people. And that I was further committed to the fight, global white supremacy. I would destroy it wherever I could, however I could. I would not become a Muslim, and I would not even go back to the Baptist church where I grew up. I would become a deeply and a very spiritual person. And the liberation of my people would become my priesthood. I would seek the truth about their history and their future. And that would be my mission. And that would also be such legacy as I will humbly leave when I am no more.
Dr. John Henrik Clarke, brothers and sisters. Let's give it up. Once again, Dr. John Henrik Clarke. Come on.